Go back to something like Soul of a New Machine. How much of what you're thinking when you're doing that album is still present today? How much of that is still there in the head?
Oh, Soul of a New Machine is the birth of the style. Yeah, so it's always present somewhere. You know what I mean? Somehow, I've never left that vibe of what Fear Factor is about.
Yeah.
You still got the heavy contrast between the heavy vocals, melodic vocals. Same thing with the guitars and drums syncopated with each other, and also breaking out into some beautiful melodic parts. You still got all the groove elements. If you go back all the way to Scapegoat, back in the first record, Scapegoat was that groovy song, and it's still apparent now. And some of the stuff that we write, still have that groove element, of course. But as time goes on, obviously, you develop your craft even better and better and better. And so you want to improve on what you created back in the past. And I think that Fear Factory has definitely done that. And I think every record shows you a different thing about Fear Factory on what the band's about, what the style is about, what the concepts are about. Each record has a different place, different sound.
Yeah.
That's why, a lot of people are like, well, why do you guys keep changing your FF logo? Because what's wrong with the first one? Because the sound keeps evolving, and we want every logo to represent a certain time where we were at. You know what I mean? And certain concept, and all that plays, all that plays into factor of how we, change the concept, change the sound, production, and as the band grows and grows and grows, I think the logos represent those records. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that. It was funny. I was talking to Andreas Kisser from Sepultura a couple of months ago, and he basically said the same thing. There are people that have a go at him about, well, why do you still call it Sepultura when Max and Igor and that have gone? And he goes, because the band's basically a new band every single time they release an album.
Andreas is my boy. I love that guy. I've known him for before I started Fear Factory. I've known him, probably 31, 32 years around there. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's very smart, fucking amazing guitar player.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we've worked on projects together. He's performed on my band Assassino. We did the Roadrunner All Stars together, and I'm glad that I was able to work with him. But he's right, man. He definitely has gone through many challenges. With obviously when Max and Igor left, he stuck it out. He's like, fuck you. We're called Sepultura, whether you like it or not. And that's kind of my attitude now. I just think that a lot of people might fear change. Right? A lot of people have grown to love certain members in the band, and I get it, and I'm with them. I'm with them as well. But you gotta trust me. I can't wait to give somebody a shot to feel those shoes of Burton Bell, right? To feel those shoes and to come and create a new chapter, a new element to Fear Factory. And I'm excited about it. I mean, Burton has moved on, and I got to move on too, right? And so, and I think that unfortunately some of the fans can't necessarily move on. But if you love Burton's vocals so well, you could go support his projects.
Yeah,
we wish him.
Yes.
We wish him well. We wish him success, right? No ill will also whatsoever. But he stated a million times that he's moved on. So again, that's what I'm doing, and this aggression continuum will continue. That's pretty much what the title states.
Yeah.
Aggression continuum. That just means I'm going to keep continuing with this style and keep going.
It was before when you said Roadrunner United. Is it true you refused to tune down? You would just go back to the 7th string, go, no, man, I got this. Is that true?
I never heard that story, but the story that me and Andreas talked about, which is in the video, in the DVD, right? There was a story where I was actually telling the story the first time that I met Andreas. Not the first time I met Andreas, but the first time Andreas heard Fear Factory, right? he realized that I tuned my 6-string down to B, right? And Andreas said, you don't need to tune low to be heavy, right?
Right.
And so that was the ongoing joke because a few years later, Sepultura had tuned down for the record Roots, right? And so that was that story that was in the Rotor United DVD, but I didn't hear anything about me refusing to tune my guitar down.
Oh, geez.
My guitars are already tuned down.
Yeah, it's pretty tuned down, man. Let's be honest. A couple of years ago, I mean, this is off script. On the Demanufacture tour cycle back in the day, there was an interview that I had with you, and it was really early in the morning wherever you guys were over in the US. And after about half an hour, someone got on the phone and I did this interview. Answers were a little bit blasé. And when Obsolete came along, you guys hosted or helped host a TV show called Ground Zero. And I heard you speak, and I went, I did not interview Dino Cazares 4 years ago. I think you went MIA, and someone's like, shit, we've got this interview. We really, really, really need to do it. So I think a roadie must have got on the phone or something. I can't even remember what happened. But yeah, I just heard you. I see you sitting on the couch with your arm around the host, and you said something, and I was just like...
You must have talked to somebody else. I don't know who it was.
I don't know. It might have been a roadie.
I got a story for you that was pretty crazy. During the Obsolete, everybody, the band got so big that everybody had to go to different territories around the world to go do interviews, right? I went to Australia, and I was going to Australia by myself to do Obsolete interview press, right? Yeah. And so when I got on the plane, we took off from LA, and the engine blew up. The one of the engines blew up, and we were maybe 20 minutes up in the air, and we had to make a circle around, and we had to come back and make an emergency landing. We had to jump out the side doors with those balloons where you slide down.
Oh, what?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Those, yeah. And we had to do all that, right? And I was like, whoa, that was like pretty scary, but cool at the same time. I never experienced that. They put us up in a hotel, and they're like, we understand if you don't want to take the next flight to Australia, but we're going to give you all this money so you don't sue us. And I'm like, I'll take the money and put me on the next flight to Australia, right? So I had a few $1,000s in my pocket, and I went to Australia and had a blast.
Yeah. On this new album, will there be a remix album? Just the same way that there was Fear is the Mind Killer and Demanufacture and so on?
It won't be a record, I'll put it that way. It'll be an EP. Because Fear is the Mind Killer is only an EP. It's not a full... Remanufactured was the full album.
Yeah.
Our fans collect all that stuff. They look for that stuff.
Are you ever worried that someone's got to put a remix on there and go... Oh, I can't really see the merit behind that one.
Maybe been very, very few that we've rejected, right? Yeah, but very, very, very few. We just say, nah, it ain't going to work, and then we just don't put it on the record. That's it. But luckily, we've had some very talented guys who pretty much saw the vision and created something fucking amazing.
I think you're the only band I know that took things that you weren't happy with and released it. That was Hate Files.
That was the record company who put that together. Because the band had broken up around 2002, the first time when Bert quit the band.
Right.
So the record company was kind of scrambling. They wanted to, put something out, and so they put the Hate Files together. But no, 2 recordings on there that we did just before the band broke up, and that was Frequency and Terminate. So there was 2 new songs on there. And the rest was just like different mixes, different remixes, and a few other things. Yeah, video game stuff that we wrote for video games, things like that. We don't really have any kind of say over that necessarily. The record company owns those recordings, so they could put it out, and that's what they did. I wasn't against it. I thought it was cool because some of the stuff people never heard.
When someone comes to you and goes, we need a song for a game, do you go, oh, well, here's a tune, here's a riff that I've been keeping in the bottom drawer? Or do you sit down and go, all right, let's have a look at this game?
Well, we never actually saw the game before. They just told us what the game was about. And the video game company sent this really cool dude. His name is Tony Tellerico. You can look him up. He does video games for music. So he was kind of the director, right? He goes, okay, this is going to be the crash sequence. So I need Bert to shout out crash, on this one part.
Yeah.
And we're like, so he was kind of the director. I thought that was really cool because we never had anybody really directing us on what to write. And it was like, it just came really fast. And we only had to write, 30, 40 seconds, a minute and a half songs. So it wasn't necessarily, we had to write a full track.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So we just, one of the beauties about me and Raymond when we were together is that we wrote music really fast. We knew what each other was going to do. We had that connection, you know what I mean? And so if I wrote a riff, he knew exactly what to do, what to put on it. And so we were able to do this stuff really quickly. And it was a really fun time because, like I said, we never had anybody come in a room with us and direct us like a conductor, you know what I mean? And that was cool. I had a blast doing that.
What, in your opinion, would be a good Fear Factory song to start?
Where would I start Fear Factory for anybody just barely getting into Fear Factory?
Yeah.
I would kind of want to say Zero Signal because that's the first time a lot of people heard us. We were on the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, and Mortal Kombat was a very, very, very popular video game that they converted into a movie, right?
Yep.
We were on the soundtrack, and we were on a very particular part of the movie is where Johnny Cage fought Scorpion, and you heard Zero Signal, and it's the first time a lot of people have heard it. And so I'm going to say start with that song. When we did the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, there was a collection of some pretty extreme bands. You had like Napalm Death was on it, Type of Negative was on it. It was a good collection of heavy stuff that wasn't popular, if you know what I mean. But no, they didn't contact us again for the new movie. I wish they did, but they
fuckers.
didn't. I could see where people, might think that song is an old song and not like it anymore. But on the new record, they did a new version of those old songs. They just updated it. You know what I mean? So.
The big one for me, which is Demanufacture,
okay.
that is finally seeing the light of day as a reissue on vinyl. Do you see some of your stuff online, like Demanufacture? I've never seen Soul of a New Machine or Fear is the Mind Killer on vinyl online. Do you have a look at some of your stuff and go, well, how the hell is that 400 Australian dollars?
Yes, it does boggle my mind sometimes, but I understand there's some serious collectors, serious fans. They want, some of those original pressings. You know what I mean? Yeah, Soul of a New Machine has been up there. Fears of Mind Killer has been up there.
Wow.
There's been other rarities like GABA mixes that we did, and stuff that we just. There's been like vinyl that we just made just for DJs. And you can still find some that stuff pops up once in a while. There's actually a guy in Australia. His name is Max Malby, and a guy named Ben Seaborn. Those guys, have a huge collection of Fear Factory stuff that I've never seen, stuff that I don't even have. The Fear Factorium, and they have a lot of rare stuff. And this guy basically has his room set up where it's a Fear Factory. Collection of everything. So you can look him up. Max Malby. He's out in Adelaide.
There was a lot of backwards and forwards with you and Burton and what was going on. But was there anything that got printed out there by the metal press where you're just like, that is bullshit?
That's all the time. I mean, but as an artist, you just have to learn to deal with it. These people who run these websites, they need people to go click on their websites so they can make money in ad space. So the more people they get to see their website, the better, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So they have to create these headlines that attract people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To attract people to want to click on it. And that's just the nature of the beast. If you don't want stuff to get twisted, then maybe, I don't know, then don't talk. I usually take to Twitter, and kids usually ask me a lot of questions, and I'll straighten things out with them, or I'll give them the correct things that was said. Or sometimes I'll even post something that a metal site said and said, look, this is not true. just so you know, blah, 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 blah. So I've done that before in the past.
Yeah.
I'm very active on social media. So kids are constantly asking me questions about my guitar tone, what amps I use, what recording softwares I use, what guitars, strings, picks, you name it, to what size my shoes are.
It's just taking the piss now.
It's 10 and a half. It's 10 and a half. Send me a pair of Nikes.
During the last 5 years, a lot of people getting into the cross-pollination of getting different bands together. Has there been anything for you where, sending tracks backwards and forwards to anyone that we might not know about?
I try to really limit myself to doing that because I have so many projects that I'm working on. I got Divine Heresy, I got Assassino, and now Fear Factory is taking full commitment of my time. It has to be something that is really going to be, worth my time, basically, because my time is very sparingly right now.
So thank you so much for helping us out today, man.
Thank you very much for giving me the time, man. I appreciate it.